So this weekend's project is going to be country pate. I'm going to make that out of game bird. Okay, what we have here for the pate is quail, some 4 small quail. We have 2 squab, otherwise known as pigeon, 1 pheasant, and we're going to add in pork jowl for fat and texture. We're also going to add in foie gras, which is goose liver, chicken liver, and it's going to go into the terrine, and the terrine will be lined with caul fat to bind everything, similar to like bacon. Caul fat is the fatty wall that holds all the organ inside the pig. And it's going to get a nice little crisp up on the outside and keep everything tight. Okay, first thing I need to do is marinate all these meats, so I have to get them off the bone, get them in a big bowl, marinate them overnight. So I've deboned all the birds and chopped up the jowl and everything else in there. Now I'm going to marinate it overnight. Okay, the marinade is going to be some chopped garlic, just a rough chop, thinly sliced shallots, some juniper berry, cut up real fine, and some chopped thyme. For the marinade liquid, we're going to do 4 ounces of Calvados. It's an apple flavored cognac or brandy. Then we're going to do 4 ounces of white wine. Alright, and this is going to go in the refrigerator. I'm going to mix it up, go in the refrigerator overnight, and then we'll work with it tomorrow. So I pulled out my marinated meat. I'm going to run it through the grinder. I separated some to leave whole to add to the pate for a little texture and just for some look. Okay, so I'm going to start adding the meat. I got my blender on, locked in, everything tight. Okay. Start this. Alright, it's a coarse grind. I've ground up all the meat, almost all of it. Here's the last batch to grind through. Once I finish grinding this, I'm going to put it aside in the refrigerator. So I have some mushroom duxelles I got to add to the pate. Once it's ready, I'm going to mix it all together. So I'm starting with a small pan. This needs to cook for 8 minutes, but there needs to be no color on anything, so it needs a small surface so nothing caramelizes or brown. So I have a little duck fat here left over from our duck confit. Alright, get that in the pan. Make sure this is nice and hot because this pan gets nice and hot. Alright, and then I'm going to add some shallots next. Okay. Make sure you get nice and coated. Alright, next I'm going to add some garlic. Alright, get that well incorporated. And lastly, like a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of thyme. Well, not the last step, but the last of the herbs. Alright. And lastly, but not least, is the mushroom duxelles. White mushroom, fine chop. Alright. Okay, give this a flip. I'm going to turn this heat down to medium and let this just cook for about 8 minutes until it's completely cooked but with no color at all. All my meat ground, my side pieces over here. I have my terrine lined with the caul fat for later, and I also have my cooked mushroom duxelles over here. And I have 1 beaten egg, okay, which I'm going to add to the mix. Alright. Duxelles. Alright, so I'm going to get in there with my hands and mix it all up. Alright, and then we're going to set it aside a little bit more before we load or fill the terrine up. So, let's give it a good mix. We have our mix ground, all ground and herbs mixed in, ready to go. We're going to fill the terrine. We have our texture or side pieces over here that we're going to use. So we're going to build it like this. We're going to put a layer of meat on the bottom. Alright. All right, we have our layer of meat. I'm gonna do a few chunks of the game bird. I think this is pheasant and quail. All right, nice through there. All right, then we're gonna do a little more meat. And we're going to do the foie gras pieces. Alright, and I'm going to do this until I'm full. Okay, 3 or 4 more, hopefully 3 more layers, and then we're going to put it in the oven. So I've got it out, the meat out in the tureen. Okay, I'm going to wrap it, the caul fat around it. Alright, bind it up. Tight. Okay, and I do have some extra caul fat hanging off the sides, which I'm just going to trim off with some scissors. So I have my oven preheated at 300. I'm going to cover this. It's in a bain-marie, so a water bath. I'm going to fill about as much as I can. Okay. Now that's going to go in the oven for an hour and a half, and we're going to check the temperature and see what we have then. Alright, the terrine is cooked for an hour and a half and has rested, and it's at room temperature. It's been about 2 hours. So this is what it looks like. It now has to go into the refrigerator overnight for actually the next 2 days. So what we're going to do is we're going to transfer out of the bain-marie, put it onto this sheet tray. We're going to put the tin foil on. Now we have to weight it. It has to stay weighted for a minimum of 24 hours, but we're going to let it go 2 days. So sheet pan on top of that. Alright, and I have my cast iron on top of that, and that's going to go in the refrigerator for minimum of 24 hours, probably 2 days. Okay, so this has been pressing in the refrigerator for 2 days. I want to take it out of the tureen mold, so I have it in a bain-marie. I'm going to pour some hot water in there just to fill it back up to about halfway. Alright, I'm going to let that sit for 10 minutes or so just to sides to loosen up and try to take the thing out of the tureen whole. Alright, took it out of the bain-marie, probably a little juice or any kind of liquid wanting to pour off. In this case we don't have too much. Now I'm going to take it out of the tureen. Okay. Beautiful. Flip that over, being careful not to break it. Alright, and I'm probably going to cut this in half, so I'll have 2 separate halves to work from. So I'm going to take it, cut right down the middle. Alright, and there is our country pate of game bird. So now I have my pate all set. I'm going to have salad with that. It's going to be wonderful. Some cornichons and mustard. But I ended up with all those carcasses from the birds I broke down, so I don't want to waste it, so I ended up making a broth, game stock out of it. And now I'm thinking, maybe pate, salad, and soup would be perfect. So I have this stock here, cooked down for 3 hours with all those carcasses, so much flavor. So I decided I'm going to make consommé, which is basically this clarified and fortified with other vegetables. So I have these chicken breasts and some shallots, carrots, celery, garlic here. I'm going to pass this all through the meat grinder, okay, until we get to the next step. So I'm going meat grinder. So I'm just going to put everything in. Okay, vegetable mixture. I have a half a dozen egg whites, which I've beaten in here. I'm going to add that right in. Okay. Also have some leeks, leek white, just the whites, some thyme. Alright, stir this together well. Get it nice and mixed up. All right, and here's my cold stock right over here. I'm going to add this mixture in. Okay. Once I get it all in, I'm going to whisk it up real good, get it all incorporated in. Make sure it's all in, mixed very well. All right, it's in there really well. Now I'm going to turn the heat on very low. Okay. And I'm going to let this go, kind of stirring continuously until all the proteins come up from the bottom. This consommé is cooked for about 25 minutes, and you can see starting to, the egg whites are starting to come up, pull all the impurities to the top. This is what we call a raft. See? Almost solid right there. And this needs to go another 20-25 minutes. Okay, so the consommé has come up to a boil, rested. The raft on the top is solid. I'm going to remove this piece. Get as much of it tacked as I can. All right. Now I'm going to add this, or rather strain this through China cap with some cheesecloth. There we go. Alright, let this strain through, but as you see, as I remove it, the liquid is crystal clear and perfectly clarified. And here we go, the finished product. We have our pate, accoutrement, consommé, salad. So I'm going to be eating real good right now with a nice bottle of Pinot Noir.